Yeah, we definitely need to sage before this one. Welcome, everybody. Today's date, November 4th, 2024. And I figured we'd just start by doing a few things in the news. Less than 2 days out for the election. I figured I'd bring you some clips of the news and what's just been happening in the past few days. Let's open up with North Carolina again. They are still in dire need of all the help they can get. Doesn't look like the government's doing anything. If anything, they're probably getting in the way of the people. So a couple new things have started to come out of there, and one of them being that the Red Cross has shut down some of their sites. And not only that, but child protection services have been coming in and seizing some of, or at least threatening to seize some of the children. So this is from Brian Shilhavy, editor at Health Impact News. North Carolina Child Protection Services threatening to seize children from parents in Red Cross shelters that are shutting down. Unbelievable. Earlier this month, October 2024, we published a report from Hannah Stutz, the owner of Jake's or Jack's Stables in western North Carolina, where she serves as a dispatch of relief efforts in isolated towns that still need help after devastation following Hurricane Helene, where they had distributed over 10,000 body bags and still needed more. That's insane. Talk about completely underreported. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to read off what they wrote about the children. If you're wondering why the state of North Carolina wants to take these children into custody and place them into the foster care system while doing nothing for the parents, the answer is that there is massive state and federal funding that creates a huge motive to seize children, while very little to no funding is available to help their parents, especially housing issues like this. The foster care and adoption business in the U.S. creates huge financial incentives to local governments to take children into custody. And if they do not meet their quota of children taken into custody, they lose out on the funding. And when a disaster strikes, such as a hurricane, even more federal funding is allocated. Much of the funding available to child welfare services is through mental health, where free mental health services are often made available to families in distress. And once you are attached to the mental health label, you can basically kiss your life goodbye, because now they're on the government's database with a legal mental health diagnosis, which they can use to either take your children away or even put you away because you now have a mental illness diagnosis. Yeah, so if you want to kick off the revolution, just keep acting up with the mountain people. I'll tell you, this is really, it's just not only disheartening, but very mind-blowing, to say the least. It's hard to even formulate words for some of these stories. Insane, if you ask me. It's like, where are the priorities? Once again, why ain't the military down there? Why ain't the National Guard down there? It just seems that the government just pretty much gets in the way of everything. Not only get in the way, but they'll take your children. My heart goes out to everybody out there. Yeah, it's really heartbreaking. It's sad that this is happening right in our country. But once again, it just goes to show the neglect and the misuse of big government. Their priorities are absolutely messed up. Oh, and one other thing to add to the North Carolina, a lot of the linesmen and people who getting power back to these people aren't even getting paid. They're reporting that, well, they're going on strike, allegedly, and that they haven't gotten paid in over 8 weeks. A lot of them are sleeping out of their vehicles. I hope things change for the better real soon over there, because it's sad to see this happen in America. Really, really sad.
Here they come. Everybody's coming in. We're all going on strike. Raise them booms! Everybody raise them booms! Nobody's working or doing anything. So, sorry, Asheville, we're here for you, but at the same time, we're here for our families. So if we are not getting paid, We are not doing a single thing. We are not lifting a single hand. It has been 8 weeks. We have not gotten a single penny. Some of us are sleeping in our trucks and in our vehicles because they won't even release the per diem, at least, for us to cover our housing. So we are putting our booms up all together, and none of us will be working until some type of money is paid to us. Enough is enough.
We're moving on in the news. You may or may not have heard about Peanut the squirrel. Well, the reason why I believe that this is catching so much attention is because, once again, it just shows the overreach and the absurd priorities of the government. This story is out of New York. So CNN actually put out a clip on this, and it doesn't go into too much detail, but it does definitely give you just a quick, brief story on it. So just take a listen.
Well, I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of Peanut the squirrel. God rest his tiny soul. Not since the squirrel that was taught to water ski has a squirrel caught the nation's attention like this one. Now, this squirrel was squirrel napped and murdered by the state of New York. An absurd abuse of government overreach. There are 40 million rats or something in New York, and they executed the only one trained to wear a cowboy hat and had an Instagram account. My condolences to Mark Longo, who cared for Peanut for 7 years, and to the cowardly neighbors who filed the complaints about Mr. Longo's animals, which also included Fred the raccoon. I ask, why are you the way that you are? I hope you're happy, you monsters. R.I.P. Peanut.
I'm not.
May Peanut and Fred run with the gods up in Valhalla. This is really, it's actually very sad news. My heart goes out to the family, Mark Longo. It's just, I don't have words for it, really. Like I said, they're going after squirrels and pets, domesticated too. There was no issue. They didn't have an issue. So another example of the government protecting you against yourself. And yeah, it's just gross, so gross. They have no problem allocating resources to like I said, go capture a squirrel, but nothing to do with finding and rescuing the 325,000 missing children. And I'll just keep reiterating that. It's so horrendous. Even Donald J. Trump had something to say, and he put out a statement in regards to Peanut the squirrel. There has been horrible reports out of New York, my former home state, where state environmental agents raided the home of Mark Longo and his wife. Mark was taken into custody for hours while officials searched his home and eventually took 2 of their pets, Fred the raccoon and Peanut the squirrel. These animals were later executed by the state of New York. New York authorities, under their terrible governor, put more effort into finding and eliminating a squirrel who was innocent by all accounts than they do to control the unchecked illegal immigrants who have flooded into the state. If Peanut could have told them that he was from Mexico, they would have sent him on his way, given him a hotel room and a $500 gift card to Buddy Squirrel. Instead, he was taken from his family, very sad, and a complete waste of resources. When we win, we will get our priorities in order and make America great again. So I couldn't say it any better myself, Mr. President. It's horrific. My heart goes out to the family. They want to, or they've already started going after Elon Musk, which he even said that he's definitely on the radar now, especially joining the X-Men. Article out of Newsweek reads, could Elon Musk be deported for immigration violation? Here we go again. It's like, where are your priorities? You're attacking your opponent legally. You're using the system to go after your political opponents, which I thought they didn't do, and they're worried about Donald Trump doing that. But anyway, this was published November 1st, 2024. Elon Musk is facing immigration problems for allegedly working in America without an employment visa or could arguably be deported, a legal expert tells Newsweek. Yeah, figures. Go after the talent, right? Go after the good guys. Of course. It's like, whose side are they on? Well, we all know that. I won't get into that right now. But, of course, Kamala Harris stating that she wants to continue the NATO campaign into Ukraine. Of course, why wouldn't she? Unbelievable. No sign of that war ever coming to an end if she gets in. They'll just keep sending over your money. Nice. That's why they're voting for her, right? And with that said, stated multiple times about them coming after free speech and these platforms such as X. And by the way, thank you, Elon, for all the work you've done in removing the censorship. It's huge. This is a huge thing. Without freedom of speech, freedom of press, they win. Listen for yourself. This is Hillary talking about it specifically.
There should be a lot of things done. We should be, in my view, repealing something called Section 230, which gave, platforms on the internet immunity because they were thought to be just pass-throughs, that they shouldn't be judged for the content that is posted. But we now know that that was an overly simple view, that if the platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control.
So there you have it. Hillary talking about how she wants to rein in the platforms. And she's right, they do lose. They lose the narrative. They lose the agenda. They lose the upper hand because they can't have an informed populace. They don't want you to be able to make an informed decision. They don't want an educated voter. As George Carlin said it, they want you smart enough to run the machine and dumb enough to not see the bigger picture. Something like that. Which, by the way, he's a genius. Once again, if you're not getting the right information, then how are you supposed to cast an educated vote or an informed vote for anything or any one of these guys? Not just in the presidential race, but all the elected officials. It just goes to show they don't want smart people. They don't. They want weak, dumb, sick people. This is what they want. This is how they keep the machine running. And if they control the flow of information, then yes, they do win. Keep up the good work. Keep it up, Elon Musk. I hope other platforms follow suit. Otherwise, be on the sinking ship. Because a lot of people aren't going to continue to do this. They're not going to continue to use the platforms where they're not getting the right information or if it's completely heavily censored. At least I haven't. You know how I feel about Facebook and Instagram. They don't give you nothing. You can't say nothing on there. You can't have an opinion on there unless it's about your cat or about the booze that you drink. It's very disheartening. But that's okay. That's all right. We're going to keep at it. We're not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to do everything that I can to continue to bring out the information that I find. More in the news. They have a new president of Argentina. I believe his name's Javier Milei or Milei. I'm sure I didn't say that right, but this guy looks really promising. I got just one quick clip of him I'm going to show, but I wish we have more people stepping up like this and taking office, because the news is saying he's a far-right radicalist or whatever, or a far-right extremist, but in all actuality, that's what it's going to sound like to the old system. That's what it's a threat to them because, well, they need to justify and keep their jobs, no matter how wasteful and inadequate they are. But here you go. Listen to this guy. I like him.
Do you like being the skunk at the garden party?
¡Amo! ¡Amo ser el tope adentro del Estado! Soy el que destruye el Estado desde adentro. Es como estar infiltrado en las filas enemigas. Es decir, la reforma del Estado la tiene que hacer alguien que odie el Estado. Y yo odio tanto al Estado que estoy dispuesto a soportar todo este tipo de mentiras, calumnias, injurias, tanto sobre mi persona como mis seres más queridos, que son mi hermana y mis perros y mis padres, con tal de destruir al Estado.
And not for nothing, this guy makes Trump look very much like a moderate independent. And, but of course, the rhetoric continues. In fact, that's what they're saying he's doing, is throwing rhetoric down. But in the Atlantic, Trump is speaking like Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini. The former president has brought dehumanizing language into American presidential politics. What? You guys are out of control. Literally out of control. You can't even chop up all your sound bites and make that even make sense at all. So, garbage news. It's on its way out. Oh, and I almost forgot this huge story. Elon Musk tweeted out, "It would be great to have Ron Paul as part of the Department of Government Efficiency." Well, what makes this so epic is that Ron Paul replied, "I'd be happy to talk with you about it, Elon." And Ron Paul is an absolute legend. He's probably the main reason why I got so heavy into politics. This is off of the Zero Hedge. Reads, with just 2 days out before the presidential election, libertarians are waking up Saturday to a bunch of buzz on X about the potential Ron Paul revolution in the White House. Oh, so epic. X users instantly went bananas on the prospect that Musk would give Ron Paul a role in the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. For months, Musk and Trump have been discussing DOGE, which the billionaire would serve as Secretary of Cost Cutting, a government agency that doesn't exist yet. Musk would basically take his skills as a successful manager, in which he slashed 80% of Twitter's workforce in a few years ago, to make free speech social media platform operate more efficient. In August, Musk said the goal to DOGE was to cut wasteful spending in the federal government and roll back massive regulations that stifle the economy. So Ron Paul, he ran for president numerous times, and the last time he did was in 2012. His plan was to cut $1 trillion from the spending, and he wanted to end 5 government agencies. This in itself was like more than enough for me to get behind. But not only that, the guy's absolutely brilliant. He's a doctor. He's the champion for liberty. He's written numerous of books. He's a congressman, I think, for over 30 years. He's just a legend. To have him coming in would be unbelievable. It's definitely, when I seen it, I got fired up myself. I was like, oh, this is it. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Yeah, this is legendary. To team up with Elon, he single-handedly wanted to end the Federal Reserve. And for me, that is literally the head of the dragon. This would be so epic. We'll see what happens. I'm going to pray it all works out, and if he gets in, if Trump gets in and Ron Paul comes on board, oh, heads are absolutely going to roll. So I can't wait. And that comes right from Zero Hedge and Twitter, X. So another thing I wanted to hit on was something I said in the last video. There are massive reports of voter fraud and sabotage and all these other things. And this is something I'm certain ain't getting enough coverage. In fact, probably 1/100th of the stories are making it out there. I'm certain there's corruption going on across the entire country. But it's one of those things that I'm just going to keep reporting on, because there was a lot of non-believers out there, especially in 2020. No, they can't do it. No, it's impossible. Oh, it was the Russians in 2016. Oh, my God, blah, blah, blah. So here's some clips of just a few instances that are taking place right here in America.
And the other big story tonight, some lawmakers are saying they have received calls from voters across Shelby County complaining of voting issues. The county's election commission says this may be user error, saying it's not the machines. However, some people say That's not the case. WRG's Brian Didlake is back with more on that story.
Received several calls from constituents who are concerned that their votes are being miscast.
Democratic lawmakers, along with an election commissioner, sounding the alarm. Some voters claiming when they go to select a candidate, the voting machine switches the answer. The group collectively saying people voting at more than half of the Shelby County's precincts are reporting the same issue. One precinct is in Arlington.
It's not like it just completely went to a different party. And that's what's scary to me.
Deanna Rigler says this was the case when she voted with her husband. The poll workers say anything?
She said, don't click on, the box where you usually put an arrow, if you were writing a ballot. And she said, click on the name. It didn't make any difference.
Clicking the name instead of the box, the same advice WREG received after sharing concerns with the county's election administrator, Linda Phillips.
If you aim for the box, you often miss it, and it's touching the one above it. So touch inside.
Must be the Russians. Ah! Okay, yeah, whatever.
Passwords for Colorado's voting systems were posted online for anyone to see for months, if you knew where to look. Democratic Secretary of State Jena Griswold's office apparently posted them online by accident. Griswold's office found out last Thursday and had not told the county clerks who actually run elections. Then the Colorado Republican Party went public today, demanding that Griswold secure those voting machines. Here's Marshall Zellinger.
The Colorado Secretary of State's office is required to maintain a spreadsheet of certified voting systems for each county. That's this list. At the bottom of any spreadsheet, you can have multiple tabs. You can also hide a tab. But if you post the raw spreadsheet to a public website, apparently anyone can also unhide the tab. This happened and apparently revealed one set of passwords for voting computers in Colorado. Next confirmed this with the Secretary of State's office today, but we learned about it this morning in an email blast from the Colorado Republican Party. The passwords had been up for months without it being known, and some, but not all, were current and active.
There are 2 passwords to get into any voting component along with physical access.
Democratic Colorado Secretary of State Jena Griswold explained how each computer component requires 2 passwords to gain access. The ones on the website were just one of the passwords, and it requires in-person access by multiple people, which is tracked by 24/7 video recording and badge IDs that record who has gained access.
We have layers of security, and out of just an abundance of caution, have staff in the field changing passwords, looking at access logs.
The truth is this a concern? Yes. Is it being mitigated? Yes. Does this mean that all of the computers are connected to the internet and that votes are being flipped? No.
Matt Crane is the former Republican Arapahoe County Clerk and current Executive Director of the County Clerks Association. He admits this is not great news, but not something that will compromise anyone's vote.
I want to stress here, this isn't all Republicans, but you will have some Republicans who will use this for political and financial purposes, whereas we as clerks, we will stay in the truth and honoring our oath of office to serve our constituents in a truthful and honest manner.
voters using a specific machine and voting a certain way may run into trouble at the polls. It's our top story tonight at 6. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sherry Jones.
And I'm Siobhan Klepfer. Although Election Day isn't until November 5th, hundreds of thousands of Michiganders have already voted early.
And while officials say every vote is being counted, some voters are running into an issue when they put their ballots into the tabulator.
Taryn Simmons is here now to explain what the issue is and what local clerks are doing about it.
Sherry, Siobhan, we're talking about what's called a voter assist terminal. It's a special kind of voting terminal that helps people with disabilities mark their ballot on their own choices, and it's made by voting systems. In Michigan, when you vote a straight party ticket, you can also go back and select individual races and vote for a candidate in a different party. So when people cast that kind of ballot and stick it into that particular machine, they may get a message saying there's an error. So people using this VAT machine should either vote straight party or vote in each individual race. Now that they know that there's an issue, Lansing City Clerk Chris Swope says there shouldn't be any problems.
At the local level, we get the programming, we install it on the machines, and then we fully test it. So, you know, it's working as it has in previous elections and as we expected it to.
This isn't just a problem in Michigan. Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson says it's happening in other places too. Swope says his main concern is voters who think their votes won't count, but he says voters using these machines will be able to see when their vote goes through, which means it will count in this election.
North Carolina, you have some explaining to do because in the CLRB, we are not, in fact, all fam. Since we're looking at data here, North Carolina state data, by the way, 499,566 total registrations since the beginning of the year, 110,462 of those with no race, sex, or ethnicity, 149,699 with no NC driver's license or ID at all, 274,589 with no birth state. What are you doing?
We have to keep an eye on those votes, keep an eye on the election as much as you can. Try to do your part, maybe become a poll watcher or whatever. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But in my book, honestly, it seems that it is too big to rig. He has got massive, massive support across the board, across the country, across the world. You're seeing videos come in with places in other countries that are having parades for Trump, and it's a breath of fresh air for sure.
And our internal polls have President Trump leading in every single key battleground state. We are cautiously optimistic about a big victory tomorrow night as long as everyone turns out to vote. And we're seeing that people are turning out to vote. When you look at the early voting trends, President Trump and Republicans are leading these early voting trends in every single battleground state. And urban turnout is down compared to where it was in 2020. Female turnout for Kamala Harris is down compared to those that turned out early for Joe Biden in 2020 as well. So all signs point to a victory tomorrow night, but we're not taking our foot off the gas. President Trump has 4 rallies in battleground states today, and we need everyone to get out and vote.
But yeah, be on the lookout. We're gonna hear and see some stuff, I think, in the next 48 hours for sure. And then some. I think this is just the beginning. So yeah, my heart goes out to North Carolina. My heart goes out to Peanut and Fred. My heart goes out to every single American and everyone around the world. I hope we pull this off because the world needs the X-Men in there. That is it. We definitely are overdue for change and beyond. The corruption is so heavy, so deep. So let's get our boys in there. Let's clean this mess up. And on that note, I'll be doing another one of these right after the election and just to see what I can find and report on. Until then, stay frosty, stay vigilant, and have a great day. Take care.
This is where we hold them. This is where we fight. This is where they die. And these shields, boys. Remember this day, man. For it will be yours for all time.